All right, welcome. Welcome. It's Thursday night in Houston. How you doing, everybody? All right, I'm going to do this whole show tributing the female pioneers of guitar. It's a labor of love, and the concept is all my latest album, One Guitar Woman, which just got nominated for a Grammy. Thank you very much. We're so thrilled, and I'm so honored to be able to carry on the tradition and honor these great women of guitar. I'm going to start off with something by an old Mississippi blues lady named Maddie Delaney. It's the only song on the show that's not on the album. I actually put it on another album, but it kind of personifies the whole story. Here we go. The big road by myself. Ain't going down the big road by myself. I can't carry you, Daddy. I'll carry somebody else. All night. I asked him how about it. He said he didn't know how. I asked him how about it. He said he didn't know how. But I'll do you, Mama, like a calf do to a cow. I'm sure gonna lose my mind. My mother said months before I was born. My mother said months before I was born. She's having a girl child. Never stay at home. and stay there. All right, I love the lyrics of that one. I think it really does tell the whole story. The story of women in guitar isn't that different than the story of men in guitar. Yeah, guitar players are guitar players after all. But I am going to stick with the blues for a couple more songs and do one by my very favorite artist of all time, Miss Memphis Minnie. And I discovered Minnie when I was 16, and she's kind of guided me my whole career. Because I thought it would be really weird to be a female guitar player in the blues. And I didn't know how I would fit into this club, you know, as a young teenage girl, and where I grew up in Canada. And then I discovered Memphis Minnie, and man, it changed my life, because I was like, well, she did it in the 30s and 40s and 50s. And she had a lot more things against her than I'll ever know about. And somehow she just did it. So she had quite a character, old Minnie. She was born in, she's actually born in Louisiana, but raised in Walls, Mississippi. And then moved to Memphis. She ran away from home, they say, when she was a teen. And joined the circus. And then ended up in Memphis, you know, where it was pretty rough at that time. Beale Street in Memphis was sort of like the home of vice and, you know, prostitution and gambling and blues, of course. So she found her way there. And there's all kinds of stories about her from those days, but nobody really knows what's true and what's folklore at this point, because there's no interviews with Minnie and there's no videos of Minnie. So you kind of have to just decipher her through all the words to all the songs. This is called In My Girlish Days. Late hours at night, trying to play my hand. Through my window, out stepped a man. I didn't know no better. Whoa, boy, in my girlish days. My mother cried, Papa did too. Oh, my daughter, look what a shame on you. I didn't know better. Whoa, boy, in my girlish days. I caught a train, I didn't have a dime. From the home of mine, I didn't know no better. Whoa, boy, in my girlish days. Caught me a truck, 1917, when the world Oh boy, in my girlish day. And I still got my girlish ways. All right. I'm going to ask a favor from our great sound man, Ben. Hey, Ben, can I get the monitors turned up a bit? And can I get a tiny bit of guitar in there? So I'm going to keep it in the blues. Much more obscure artist than Minnie is a lady named Elvie Thomas, who actually hailed from this area. She's buried right here in Houston. And she's very mysterious. Her partner, Geeshie Wiley, was pretty mysterious. I'll talk a little bit more about Geeshie later, but the two of them traveled together. And they came up from the south up to, I think it was Wisconsin, and recorded like just a few sides. There's only 6 sides remaining from these two artists, Geeshie Thomas and Elvie Thomas and Geeshie Wiley. And they kind of traveled together. They played together and backed each other up on each other's recordings. And it's kind of interesting because they only made so many, a few sides, but they really left a big impact. This is called Motherless Child Blues. My mother told me just before she died. Mother told me just before she died. Mother told me just before she died. My mother told me just before she died. Oh, my daughter, please don't be like me. Oh, my daughter, please don't be like me. Daughter, please don't be like me. To fall in love with every man you see. But I could not listen to what my mother said. Could not listen to what my mother said. I could not listen to what my mother said. That's the reason why I'm standing here today. Now she's dead, she's 6 feet in the ground. Now she's dead, she's 6 feet in the ground. she's dead, she's 6 feet in the ground. I am a child and I am left around. Remember the day, baby, you drove me from your door. Remember the day, baby, you drove me from your door. Remember the day, baby, you drove me from your door. You said, go on now, don't come here no more. I walked away, I was wringing my hands and crying. I walked away, I was wringing my hands and crying. I walked away, I was wringing my hands and crying. I had the blues and I couldn't get satisfied. All right, thanks very much. This next artist is actually also from the Houston area originally, born in Houston. But her family was originally from Monterrey, Mexico. And they were migrant workers. The whole family came up across the border. They used to cross back and forth to work. And their father kind of became ill. And he couldn't work too much in the fields anymore. So he started a little troupe with the family, a little entertainment troupe. All the kids got involved. And they traveled through the border towns, the Mendoza family. And Lydia Mendoza, their daughter, she was sort of their shining star. She had this voice that just kind of came out, a God-given gift, you know. And she started sort of fronting the family. And her voice was so beloved by her people that they called her the Lark of the Border, because she lifted the spirits of her people as they tried to make their lives better. And she originally heard this song when she was a little girl in one of the markets, and she wrote down the words on a gum wrapper. And then years later, when she was 18, I think in 1934 or 36, she recorded it for the first time. And it's still the best recording of this song. It's very magical. It's called Mal Hombre. And because it was the story of a young girl whose life kind of becomes ruined by a bad man, Mal Hombre, I changed the words a little bit. I didn't change the words, but I translated them to English so I could kind of emote it a little bit better. And I kept the chorus intact and sort of changed the perspective from a little girl or a young girl talking about her life to an older woman looking back at the past. Mal Hombre by Lydia Mendoza. city. I just left my home. You found me so young and pretty. You found me all on my own. You lured me to your chamber with more than a little insistence. I was aware of the danger. I went in with no resistance. Mal hombre, ten ruines, tu alma que no tiene nombre. Eres un canalla, eres un malvado. Eres un mal hombre. Ten ruines, tu alma que no tiene nombre. Eres un canalla, eres un malvado. Eres un mal hombre. Through the dark, narrow streets I wandered, too proud to call out your name. My love and my money I'd squandered. I hung my head down in shame. Then one day I saw you. I reached out my hand in defeat. Said to the new one beside you, I don't know her, she's nothing to me. Mal hombre, ten ruines, tu alma que no tiene nombre. Eres un canalla, eres un malvado. Eres un mal hombre. All right, thank you. So I want to move on to a little Piedmont-style folk fingerpicking, one of my favorite styles of guitar to play. And this is tributing the great Elizabeth Cotten. You might have heard of Elizabeth Cotten. She's pretty famous. Famous in the folk circles for sure. Her song, Freight Train, I'll play it later, but it's a great one. Kind of put her on the map. I think she wrote that when she was a little girl. But actually, the cool thing about her, there's so many cool things about her. One of the cool things about her is that she didn't start her professional career till she was 57. And she won her first Grammy at 90. So don't give up. And she was discovered by the Seeger family. Remember Pete Seeger? And It was Mike Seeger, and they were really instrumental in the 60s, late 50s and 60s folk boom. They were really instrumental to bringing around a lot of artists that time had forgotten and thought their careers were over, and then all of a sudden they were at Newport Folk Festival playing for a bunch of hippies, going, wow, with a whole new audience. And they had great careers after that. Well, she was one of them, and it turned out she was their nanny, and they looked around one day and she was picking on a guitar, and they're like, who are you, you know? And so they put her on stage, and her song Freight Train became a sort of a regional hit in England in the skiffle movement. And then she had a great career, and you can see videos of her all over YouTube, interviews and videos, and she was very decorated and very beloved way up into her later years. One other cool thing about her, she played guitar left-handed upside down. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But I did, when I was trying to learn her stuff, I did turn the computer upside down a few times. Anyway, this was the first single off the album, One Guitar Woman. This is called Oh Babe, It Ain't No Lie. One old woman, Lord, in this town, keep on telling her lies on me. I wish to my soul that old woman would die. Keep on telling her lies on me. Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. 'Cause this life I'm living is very high. Been all around this whole round world, honey, I just got back today. I work all week, honey, I bring it on to you. Honey, babe, what more can I do? Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. 'Cause this life I'm living is very high. Been all around this whole round world, honey, I just got back today. I work all week, honey, I bring it on to you. Honey, babe, what more can I do? Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. 'Cause this life I'm living is very high. Right on. Thank you. I love Elizabeth Cotton. I love that style of guitar. It's really fun to play. I highly recommend it. Yeah, do it. Just do it. For this project, for this album, I learned a bunch of different styles of guitar, as you'll find out as it keeps unfolding. But one of the most challenging, actually, was Maybelle Carter's Carter Scratch. And I want to do that next. Maybelle Carter is the matriarch of country music, Mother Maybelle. She is the mother-in-law to Johnny Cash. So if you don't know who Maybelle is, I'm sure you know who Johnny Cash is. And Johnny called her his favorite musician of all time. So I think he played with everybody, so that's pretty high praise. He really revered, and she was his fishing partner, he said, his favorite fishing buddy. So, you know, the Carter family, they started out in the 1920s, and they were right at the inception of the recorded country music, back when they called it hillbilly music. There was a very famous recording session called The Big Bang of Country Music down in Bristol, Virginia. And they were there with, you know, Jimmy Rogers, the Yodel and Brakeman, and a whole bunch of other people. And what happened is this guy, you know, he was working for the Victor Recording Company or something, this guy named Ralph Peer, and he was a classical fan, he was a classical music fan, and he thought this was just a lark. But they sent him on a mission to get all the hillbillies to come down from the hills and record their local music. And he thought nothing would ever come of it. But he did it, and of course, the rest is history. People loved it. They loved and loved and loved it. They wanted to hear it on the radio. They wanted to buy the records. So the Carter family was right there, and Maybelle was the backbone of their sound. Because the Carter family was basically a vocal group with a guitar going, and that guitar is just strumming like mad, and she's playing all the leads and the rhythm all at the same time. She's like a little one-man band. And then they went to the border down in Del Rio, Texas. The Carter family. They became big stars on border radio, which broadcasts from the south of Texas all across North America. Those big transmitters that they had. So people all over Canada, all over America, they heard the Carter family, and that guitar was really influential. In fact, her guitar now hangs in the Country Music Hall of Fame, and it's been said to be the most important instrument in the history of country music. So I'm going to do a little Carter Scratch. This is a song I wrote about Maybelle, her history, the legacy. And I also reference one of their famous songs, The Wildwood Flower. You'll recognize the tune. I know you heard that before. It launched a million dreams, it saved a million souls. In the midst of the Great Depression, it stirred through the old Dust Bowl. In the darkest time, it was a shining light, constant as a northern star. Few things ever burned as bright as Maybelle's guitar. From Texas to Canada, America in every part, XCRA radio filled our homes and hearts. The Carters sang of the life of man with true and simple songs about a world so beautiful and a world gone wrong. Like a clenched mountain stream flowing from the source, powerful as a freight train rolling right on course. No matter how we stray or how far we roam, the sound of that guitar brings us all back home. They sang in times of need to the forgotten and forlorn, and a Carter Scratch rang out through an old Victrola horn, where a young boy sat with dreams of being the next great country star, as he learned to pick out every tune from Maybell's guitar. Like a clenched mountain stream flowing from the source, powerful as a freight train rolling right on course. No matter how we stray or how far we roam, the sound of that guitar brings us all back home. The sound of her guitar brings us all back home. Ooh, so you're having a good time, Houston. I love coming back to the Duck. I love Rusty and Teresa. They have a wonderful place. They're such great music people that they always have the best musicians that always want to come back. And they have the greatest food, too. I don't know if you know that. I'm sure you know that by now. So I'm going to switch gears pretty drastically and do something that even shocked me when I recorded it. Because I really wanted to tribute this woman named Ida Presti, who's a classical guitar player. And I'm a blues musician. So blues is here on the musical spectrum, and classical is over here, okay? So I didn't know how I was going to approach it, but I did find a song I heard from her that sounded kind of bluesy, and I thought, well, maybe I could do this one. And so I did. It's called Romance in A Minor by Nicola Paganini. It was written in the 1700s, but I thought it sounded kind of bluesy. So I took that on. But Ida Presti just fascinates me. She's in the classical world, in the classical guitar world. People kind of know who she is. But and I really attribute her influence to why there's so many female classical guitar players. As I do in blues for somebody like Memphis Minnie. There's a lot of female blues guitar players. But Ida Presti started her career when she was 13 or even younger. She's a child prodigy. She was born in France in 1924. And before she was even out of the womb, her father had decided the baby in the womb was going to play guitar. Because he loved Segovia. Segovia had just become a big star. And in the classical world, it was the first guitar star. So he decided the baby was going to be a guitar player. It turned out to be a girl. He didn't care. He raised her to play guitar almost only. She started when she was like 3 years old and barely went to school. She kind of stayed kind of childlike her whole life, they say, because she really was a little stunted, but she was like a phenomenally great guitar player, like phenomenally. Like when people say that, you know, women don't play technically as good as men, she totally blew that out of the water. She was phenomenal. And this recording that I picked up from her, she was 14, and I was like truly humbled to try to even attack it. So because it's just one song of many on this album, but she was literally just, you know, a young girl when she recorded this. So check her out, Ida Presti. She's so great. She doesn't have a lot of her own recordings. She recorded later, mostly with her husband, Alexander Lagoya, and they were a very famous classical duo. So anyway, I'm going to approach Romance in A minor. I have to make a quick change. It's subtle, but it's really necessary. All right. So, the elephant in the room kind of is Sister Rosetta Tharpe, who is one of the most well-known of this group. She's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And again, a phenomenally great guitar player, no question of that. In fact, she was a great guitar player, an amazing singer, and an outstanding entertainer. You know, she kind of had all three. If you see videos of her, she's just really, 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 really great, you know. Again, she was sort of, you know, as a child, she was playing from the time she was a little kid in church, and her mother, they were Pentecostals, and they would go around, and she didn't really go to school either. She just kind of played music and traveled around with her mother as they went on missions. And then became, of course, a great gospel star, later on an R&B star, you know, rock and roll icon, everything. And because she almost always played an ensemble, I picked a piece that was a little more introspective from her. I'm really a big fan of the work she did with Marie Knight. They were a duo for quite a while, and they recorded some of the most beautiful songs. And it was just the two of them, and they used to travel around together. And I did actually interview Marie Knight, which is so cool, you know, and talked about Sister Rosetta. And I covered this song only because I like it. It doesn't really show off Sister Rosetta Tharpe's guitar style. It doesn't really... It's something she wrote, and I thought it was a little more thoughtful, because she's such an outgoing entertainer and so kind of flamboyant and always extroverted, that when you saw her sort of softer side, her more thoughtful side, I thought it was really interesting. And this song has just stayed with me my whole life. So. It's called My Journey to the Sky. I go from land to land, there's only one thing that I long for. When I reach that heavenly land, and I know I shall see him in that sweet, peaceful rest, yes, without a mother, oh, without a father. I will make this journey by myself. Heartbreak and pain, head bowed in shame, 'cause our journey is alone. There's only one thing that I long for. When I reach that heavenly land, and I know I shall see him in that sweet, peaceful rest. Thank you. So, thanks very much, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. Yeah. I'm going to do a couple of not repeats, because these are also on the album, but this is another Memphis mini tune. I really like this one, called Nothing in Ramblin'. I was born in Louisiana, I was raised in Algiers. Everywhere I've been, the people all said, there ain't nothing in rambling, either running round. Well, I believe I'll get married, ooh Lord, and settle down. Well, I first left home, I stopped in Tennessee. Everybody was begging, come and stay with me. Ain't nothing in rambling, either running round. Well, I'm gonna get a good man, ooh Lord, and settle down. Well, I was walking in the alley, my hand in my coat. A police started to shoot me, said it's something that I stole. There ain't nothing in rambling, either running round. Well, I'm gonna get married, ooh Lord, and settle down. walking and crying. Some is starving, and some is dying. Ain't nothing rambling, either running round. Well, I'm gonna get a good man, ooh Lord, and settle down. Now you can go to Hollywood, try to get on the scene. I will stay right here and eat my own charity bean, 'cause there ain't nothing in rambling, either running round. Well, I'm gonna get a good man, ooh Lord, and settle down. All right, let's go back to Elizabeth Cotton. I want to do Freight Train. It is her most famous song. Super cool song. If you love it and you feel like singing along, feel free. Freight train going so fast. Freight train going so fast. Please don't tell what train I'm on. They won't know what route I have gone. When I'm dead and in my grave, no more good time will I crave. Place a stone at my head and feet, tell 'em all I've gone to sleep. When I'm dead, Lord, bury me deep, way out on Old Chestnut Street. I will hear old number 9 as she goes rolling by. Freight train runs so fast. Freight train runs so fast. Please don't tell what train I'm on. They won't know what route I have gone. I'll do it one more time. Freight train, freight train. Freight train. Please don't tell Seriously, one of the funnest songs to play on guitar. Highly recommend it. It never gets old. It always is good, and people always love it. So, kudos to Elizabeth Cotton for writing a timeless masterpiece. I'm going to return back to the ballad of L.V. Thomas and Geeshie Wiley. Now, these two women, I did play the L.V. Thomas song earlier, Motherless Child Blues. Now, they traveled around together. I find their story very interesting, very mysterious. Mac McCormick from right here in Houston finally caught up with L.V. years ago and interviewed her. Found her in a nursing home here in Houston and tried to get some insight into what went on between the two of them, what they were doing. Why were they traveling around together? Why were they traveling around alone together? Why were they going from the south to the north? How did they get their recording session? And what's the deal with Geeshie? That's not her real name. Well, nobody really knows. Elvie wouldn't let it out what her real name was. They thought it was one thing. They're not sure. There's no real trace of her. She kind of just disappeared. And they say she was on the run for a stabbing incident. It involved a man. So anyway, I just thought it was really interesting that they only recorded 6 sides and you know, it really had a lasting effect. This one song, Last Kind Words Blues, has been covered by a lot of artists. Most recently, Robert Plant and Alison Krauss is on their latest album. Rhiannon Giddens did it recently as well. I mean, people get fascinated with this one. This is a Geeshie song. Last Kind Words Blues. If I die in some German war, well, just send my body to my mother, Lord. If I get killed, I get killed. Please don't bury my soul. Buzzards eat me home. I went to the depot and looked up at the stars. I said a train don't come, there'll be some walking done. The Mississippi River, you know it's deep and wide. Baby on the other side. My mother, she told me just before she died, whoa, precious daughter, don't you be so wild. What you do to me, baby, it never gets out of me. I may not see you until I cross the deep blue sea. The last kind words I heard my daddy say. Oh, the last kind words I heard my daddy say. Well, all right. I'm gonna do one more, and then we'll see what happens after that. I want to take it all the way back. The reason why I did this project is because my whole life I've been fascinated with women and guitar. I knew I was going to be a guitar player, you see, from the time I was a little girl. I'm from a musical family, and everybody played guitar. So all my older brothers, my dad, they all played guitar. And there was guitars all over the house. There was pictures of guys with guitars on the walls. There was posters of rock stars holding guitars in my brother's room. And it just, which ones? Hendrix, Jimmy Page, ZZ Top. Not Stevie Ray, I'm a little older than that, but so I was just like, all this was going on around me. And of course, all the music of that era is guitar-driven music. So I knew I was going to play. And I just didn't know how I was going to fit into this group of dudes, you know. So I was always looking for women that played. So every time I'd see one, I would go, there's one, there's one, there's one. And they started to rack up. So now you're just like, you take it for granted. I open up my Instagram feed, and there's like chicks shredding, like they should shred now. So, but back when I first started out, I can remember the first woman I saw that really, really could play the guitar. And that was, you got it, baby, Charo. You know me. It was Charo. The only woman in this series and this album that's still alive, still very active in her career, extremely active, still plays guitar every day. And what was so cool about Charo, because she was on all those variety shows, as you recall, I'm sure, and she would come out and, you know, coochie coochie and all that, you know, and run around the stage, and she was, you couldn't keep your eyes off of her, you know. She was like a crazy blonde bombshell of wild energy, you know. Comedian, sexy. But then she played guitar, and you're like, she seemed very serious all of a sudden. And like very deep and very artistic and creative and soulful. And then I feel like that's when you really saw what was deep inside of Charo. So that left a great indelible impression on me as a little girl. That's why I play a flamenco guitar. I realized that years later. That's why I love Spanish guitar. So I gotta fix a nail. I'll keep talking. So I took it upon myself, and this is on the album as well. I did a little bit of Charo's Malagueña. Malagueña is a famous Spanish song. And sort of like, I like to call it like the stairway to heaven of the Spanish world. Everybody does the Malagueña, does their version of it. Charo's version is unique because she was classically trained at Segovia School in the south of Spain, very serious classical guitar training. And then, but she had gypsies that camped on her property. And the gypsies, they play the flamenco, you know. That's wild, improvised. Classical is very studious and disciplined and you read music, but flamenco's the polar opposite of that. It's wild. So she's got those two things going on with her guitar playing. She improvises and she does classical, which is quite unusual. So, back to the subtle move I got to make. Thanks very much, everybody.